Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Awaken podcast, Building Bridges, Bridging the Gap. Today we are back again, me and Quentin, your host.
Yep, and today we're bringing in our producer. He's actually going to be asking us some questions. Shout out to him. He's not getting on camera, but you'll be hearing him as the God voice, as they call it in these spaces. So shout out to him. You want to introduce yourself, sir?
My name is Jon Devereueawax. I am the one who's going to be producing most of these episodes. We're going to dive into a couple of questions that I have that I've been holding on to as I've been listening to some of these episodes that you guys have been recording. And I really want to get to the heart and like the humanity behind the Awaken Foundation. So really quickly, before we even jump into my questions, Quentin, for people who might be new, can you really just kind of give a quick explanation of what the Awaken Foundation is?
Yeah, so the Awaken Foundation is a non-for-profit organization, and we are housed kind of under like two umbrellas. So we're doing construction on one side, pre-apprenticeship programming, and then the other side is a culinary program. So both of them are comprised of like pre-apprenticeship programming. So we're doing, for construction side, 8 to 10 weeks, where they come in, they do some soft skills, they do some resume building, we work on job readiness and things of that nature, and then we jump into some safety and OSHA 10 and other certifications like that, and then we get into some book work, and then eventually hands-on training, all with the guys or with the purpose of preparing them for jobs in the industry. So a trades industry, whether it be union or non-union, and just other jobs in that area, or going on to more focused learning in those areas.
And Mercedes, I like to call you the media storyteller, all right? So talk a little bit about your role with the Awaken Foundation.
Yeah, so my role is more so with, pretty much digital storytelling, the social media, covering the events, putting things on social media, covering the events, sending out media requests, press releases, anything that has to do with telling the story of the students at Awaken. That's pretty much where I come in.
So I want to really get to the heart behind the work, and that's where I want to start today. And I'll throw a couple questions to both of you guys as we kind of go through. But Quentin, what first drew you to this kind of work?
I'll say I got driven to it by a close friend, Anthony Bonner, who actually was working in this space and had me come in to speak to his students. And that was kind of the first time that I got an inside look into just what that impact can be like. So I came in to speak to them about entrepreneurship. At the time, I was out on the road. Actually, I had a trucking company with me and another childhood friend. And so I was coming in to speak about entrepreneurship, and then the topic he gave me was success. And so I remember just opening the I don't even want to call it a speech, because it was really just a conversation we ended up having. I opened the conversation with just asking them, how do they define success? And just kind of giving them some examples from our city, and then just kind of breaking down what I felt like how individual everybody's story is. And just in that time of spending with them, I'm like, this is what I want to be doing. Like it just flows so effortlessly. Like I started talking, and then before I know, we just having conversation, and just being able to talk to guys who are like that in that specific program were 19 to 24. So it's like, for me, that's a very special age of remembering how much I was searching for in that time, how much I was looking for identity and looking for purpose and stuff like that. And so to be able to speak to someone in that same space, and hopefully someone is catching something or getting something from that, that was the first thing to kind of grab my attention. Like I love this space.
And with the space, so Mercedes, you get to see these stories kind of unfold through a lens, because I'll see you at some of the events with the cameras, you're asking questions, and you're doing a lot of the work behind the scenes. But as you see these stories unfold, what's one that has really impacted you?
I don't know if it was specifically one student's story, but I do know when we recently had the He Builds event. And at the He Builds event, there was a lady that kind of pointed out a young man who was having some difficulties. Quentin, you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And he was having difficulties finding a job. He, was having some other complications going on. And once she announced that, there were about maybe 3 individuals. It was Quentin and then 2 other mental health individuals, like providers, that kind of came to, I don't want to say to his rescue, but they immediately heard the problem and immediately came to see, okay, how can we talk to him? Like, what's going on? At the time, at first, in my mind, it's like, I didn't see like he was taking it in. It was like, okay. And it's like, I can't relate and I can't talk to him because, being a black woman, just our experiences are different. He was a younger black male, but to see four different black men come around him and try to talk to him. And even though he wasn't immediately what it seemed like receptive, you can tell like his energy had a little bit of a shift. He wasn't as heavy as when he walked in and when that was pointed out. And just understanding like people are here for you. Like you don't have to have it all figured out. And then even a little bit after, I talked to him a little bit after and he was like, well, I've tried this and I've tried that, because at first he was really tense. He didn't really want to open up. He didn't want to talk. You could tell that he was embarrassed, but the fact that he still was willing to talk, it was it's one of those moments where you find a lot of students where they're embarrassed, they feel like they're isolated, they feel like they are alone, not realizing that you have so many people around you who have had these exact same experiences. And it's one of those moments where you have to choose you and you have to choose to be vulnerable. And although he didn't fully choose to be vulnerable, the fact that he sat there and he still stayed and he talked to everyone and mainly listened. And then even after he had texted me and he was like, oh yeah, this is so-and-so from the event. And I was shocked because I was like,
yeah. Cause he didn't speak when we spoke to him at first. He one or two words. We actually, he didn't want to eat, he didn't want any of the, things we were handing out that day. He was saying that he wasn't feeling worthy of it at that time, but he still, and you take, when you're dealing in these spaces, you just learn that like you take the victories that he had. So he got there, he showed up for forever he was. Yeah, he got there, he stayed there. And even in kind of pointing out that situation, it's very sensitive and, making sure that we're, doing that in a manner that is comfortable for him. So I was extremely grateful that he was receptive to us, like that he listened and that he took that in. Like you said, you could see it change a little bit. And it's just one of those, you're not going to fix everybody's problem. You're not going to fix it in a day. And he wasn't looking for his problem to be fixed either. I think in that moment, I was just grateful that he was being heard and that he showed up. And that she noticed that, because a lot of times, like, we're having this big program, this big event, we have all these speakers in, we got to get through all these certain things that we're trying to do. But in the middle of that, to be able to still catch that is one of the things where, like Jon is saying, to the humanity of the situation. And that's what I'm always proud of the work that we do, that we leave space for things like that to happen.
That definitely, I can agree with that. That is the reason why I think I continue to be a part of Awaken with you all. Is I do a lot of events with a lot of different people, from political side, community side, business side, but you really get to see the effect. In that room, you could really see how people were opening up from the speakers. People were talking before, people were talking after. And just to see him, and it was like, oh, this is a real moment. But to see how you all handled it, not just as individuals who have been in mental health, who are professionals, but as men. I was like, oh, because I have a son. What if one day he gets to a point where he's like, I don't want, he's not always going to be able to talk to me. So to see how that was handled for another young black man by black men was powerful. It was pretty dope to me. I was looking back like, look at them. I was like, oh, this is so cool.
That story, because I was there as well. And I remember it. And I think that story reminds me of something that Quentin mentioned in an earlier episode where he says, like, the students kind of become family. Or the Awaken Foundation is kind of family oriented in a sense. And just like with any family member, you want to make sure that they have the best opportunities available to them. So when that lady did go up and say, this person's going through X, Y, and Z, I, just like you, Mercedes, I was kind of in awe of how quickly the people responded to it and spoke life into that person. So like you were saying, like, maybe we're not going to change the situation today. Quentin has this saying that he says all the time, which is we're tilling the ground. All right. So you're planting the seeds right there and you're hoping that it sticks. But Quentin might be the person to water it today. Maybe Q's going to be the person to water it a couple weeks later, or the Fergusons. And I think with the Awaken Foundation, you guys are always operating in your strengths to try to make sure that it goes beyond, this is just a number, right? We want to make sure that this person gets what they need.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is that, see into that humanity that, like, this is their life. So like, this isn't just, like you said, it's not just a number. And sure, the numbers count. That's how we get funded. There are rules, there are metrics that do have to be, that's a part of what we do. The metric is a part of what we do, but it isn't, for us, that's not what's driving us. Like, we're seeing these faces, we get to see these people be a part of their lives. And it's important for us. And that is the thing that has been important for all of us. And like you said, stand to your strong suits, because it's about making that impact, and being able to see that impact does drive you some. It does make you want that to, push for them as much as they're pushing for themselves.
Yeah. I like how you said the metric is a part of what you guys do, but it's not your why. So what was there for you, Quentin? Was there a moment when you knew that this was purpose work for you?
Yeah, I'll say probably really early on in just speaking to the people and speaking to applicants and just hearing their stories about how they're trying to get back on their feet, remembering myself how this really, I'm not too far from really starting over myself and getting in a new field. This is still a fairly new field for me. So I remember, and I still am having moments where I'm still learning about this field, where people are still helping me out in this field, and just remembering how vulnerable that can be, being in a new space, starting over, how vulnerable that can be when you're having to do things, having to take Uber rides and having to ask people for help and doing stuff like that, especially as an adult, as a male adult, even as a female, as mothers or as fathers or as, whatever, returning, especially if we're returning from incarceration or something like that, it's tough. It's a difficult time. And so I think it's just, trying to be mindful of carrying all of those things that I carry with me and carrying those, as I try to do these tasks. And
for you, Mercedes, one of the things that you mentioned before, you talk about the graduation ceremony, and you talk about a lot of the historic things that the Awaken Foundation has been doing, being the first to do so many things in the community. How has that been for you, documenting these occurrences? Because I love the evil grin and laugh too.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of organizations, a lot of people, in a lot of different places. And oftentimes you see these organizations, you see them get the money, but I don't know if I can say this like this, but they're BSing the work. They're not doing the work. And then they have all these numbers, they have all this funding. And it's okay, you're screwing students over. I'm not going to name drop no organizations today, but
today,
thank you.
Today, Quentin, yeah, But when it comes to the Awaken Foundation, they're really putting in the work. This is the thing that got me with everybody with the Awaken Foundation. They're putting in the work even off the clock. They're answering, and Quentin, because we've talked about this, answering students' calls, going to go get students, all this stuff that they put into these students, that's what makes it special of it being a family, and seeing these historic moments to being on the back end and hearing about certain students not showing up. But then when you see that moment in graduation, and there's certain students I'm like, okay, I've heard about you. Or, okay, I've seen you a few times. Or when walking into things and getting things documented from students not wanting. There was this one moment when we first went in to document some stuff, and students didn't want to be on camera. They didn't want photos to be taken. But when graduation came, make sure you get my picture.
Right, exactly.
And it was to see that, it's real work. Like you guys were saying earlier, it's purpose work. And it's even more reason why I'll continue to always say that the Awaken Foundation is doing a lot of first, because you have so many people who talk about it, who advocate for students or act like they're advocating for students. But when it really comes to the Awaken Foundation, all the way from Jeria to Quentin to the Fergusons, to the instructors, they're really doing it. They're really doing it. And this is the thing, they're doing it when they don't have to be doing it. That's the true measure of real work. People talk about nonprofit work and how you may not make the most money, but you're putting in the most time, because it's real work. It's real boots on the ground work. There's not a salary in the world that can really measure the work that you're doing, because the work that you're doing isn't just on the hours. It's off. It's when you're in Walmart and a student calls you, or if you're at the gas station, you run into a student and you see them going through something, and now you make a decision. Are you going to help them, or are you just going to leave them there? You're not just going to leave them there. Whatever it is, you're going to try to help. So stuff like that.
That's a great response. And just from being around Quentin a lot, you see him always on the clock, like you mentioned, even outside of your traditional 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. So Q, let's talk about what you hear in the field. What kind of hesitation or doubts do students have when you first approach them? Because you mentioned before that sometimes it sounds too good to be true. So how do you overcome some of that hesitation and really let these students know how this program can really change the trajectory of their life?
Yeah, I think it's understanding that like you're not going to change their mind right away. A lot of people, everybody's skeptical about you should be. And I tell people there's a level you should check things out. You should absolutely, because like Mercedes said, there are plenty of organizations that will run you through some programming. They'll get you in some classes. They'll get you some certs, and then they're going to push you right back out. That is just the nature of the work sometimes. And so it's just allowing them to fill us out. It's always like, okay, well, we're here. This is what we do. I'm going to explain what it is. They're going to ask questions. I'm going to answer them. And then we're going to, move from there. So it's just knowing that they're not going to trust you on day one. Everybody comes in clammed on day one. They real tight. Everybody is, kind of asking a lot of questions, especially when they hear like, okay, I don't have to pay no money, but I'm finna get paid and you finna find me a job. Like, what's the catch? I'm like, the catch is you're going to have to show up. You need to be on time. When you show up, you need to be presentable. When you get here, when you're not going to be here, you need to communicate. And it's all of those type of things that we do sometimes struggle with, struggling with, transitioning or just figuring that out. But it's just kind of being patient and knowing that, like, over time, you'll see it. You just got to wait and see it. Like, you ain't going to catch me being fake. This is just what we do. Like, really is what we do. Like, we really do all love what we do. And this is why we do it.
Yeah. And as you're kind of communicating the why behind what you guys do, and this question is for you, Mercedes, you're typically sharing like the content with students that may be skeptical, whether that's through social media and their families. What kind of feedback do you get from the posts that kind of break through that hesitation?
So with this, it was a little different because it was like, okay, do we show too much? What do you show? Students, their personalities when they're first learning. In my mind, and me and Quentin, we've talked about this, is putting it all out there. We're at a point where there's nothing that we can really share about the program that's bad, but people need to see the experiences. You need to feel what it's like to start this program and finish it. Key emphasis on finish it. So there's going to be a lot more content coming about that. Really taking people into what it means to be a student, an instructor, a parent of a student, just the experience of the achievement. So that's what we're trying to show more on the social media side. A lot of it has been, the events, certain clips. And even with this podcast, we're trying to do new things because oftentimes with social media, you see the pictures. But do you ever get to hear from the instructors? Do you ever get to hear from the students? What does it take to really get in this program? What does your mindset have to be like? So we've been doing a lot of the basic things on the social media and the marketing side. We've definitely invited a lot of important people in the city who have really showed up for the Awaken Foundation, really participated. But now it's time to take it up a notch because the reality of it is the Awaken Foundation isn't average. So the media side can no longer be average. It's not just going to be photos and reels anymore. We're really going to give you the day in the life, stuff like this, the podcast, actually having these difficult conversations because, like I said earlier, you have a lot of people faking the work. When you're not actually faking the work and you're actually doing the work, you can show it all because you're doing it all. So
that's amazing. And for you, Mercedes, as well, when you're capturing those moments, whether it's a student getting their certificate or just laughing at an event, like what goes through your mind? Like, are you ever just kind of caught up in the moment yourself?
I love this question. So if you see my camera from like when we go to events and we take pictures, I get lost in taking pictures. So a normal person would probably take, 100, maybe 200. I remember after every event when I go and upload the pictures, it's like 300-400 pictures. And I'm just like, what did you do? You did it again. But that's how I know that I was enjoying it because I like to capture when people are talking, when people are speaking. One of my favorite moments is to capture when either the staff are hugging students or greeting students, or when the parents are hugging their students, or like when the parents are hugging the staff, and to capture those moments because those are moments, especially like at graduation and even like some of the mixers and stuff that we've had, to see the interaction. And you see the beginning of the hug in the picture, and then you see the end of the hug, like when they're actually like holding them. And like there are some moments that when I see those pictures and when they're hugging them, it wasn't like a normal hug. It wasn't like quick pat you on the back. It was like like you're hugging your grandma. Like, I'm hugging you, like, thank you. And just to have recollection of those memories from those moments, it's pretty cool because I really get to see the empathetic side and then sharing the captions, sharing the picture, sharing the story. It's cool to be able to document it because you can almost feel what people are, what they're experiencing. And that's the part that I don't think we put enough emphasis on. Yes, they're making their lives better. Yes, they're taking the next step, but they're also improving their confidence. They're more confident from when they walked into the door, and now they're leaving out. So now they're going into the world and making the world better simply by making themselves better. But that also comes from the program. That comes from the staff. Like, the staff at Awaken, they're honest. One, they're honest.
Yep.
They're confident. They're truthful, they're empathetic, they're helpful, but they're also accountable. And they instill these skills in you that when you go out into the world, you're really going to be made about something because you're telling people that you came from this program. And that's what you see on social media as well. One thing that I love is when Quentin was here, the other Quentin, when he was talking to us about the guy seeing him on social media and he didn't even know he was on our social media, but he was teaching the students. And I think you captured those moments. Yeah, he captured those moments and I post them and I often share them a lot too, because Quentin, he's a quieter one, but he does the work. And, anytime I get a picture or a video from Jaria, I am. But I like to share those moments because if you're just seeing, oh yeah, we're doing events and all of that, that can get washed away, rather than recognizing the people that are doing the work. So I really like to share the people of the program. Flyers are cool, graphics are cool, and we can sit up here and make that all day. But it's about the authenticity of the program and sharing the people that make the program amazing.
I like that answer. And something that you just said that kind of stood out to me is, like you say, when at the graduation or whatever, they're not just their traditional pat on the backs, like, hey, congratulations, here's your certificate. It's the embrace, like you say, like a grandmother, to the point where we got some skin in the game here too, to the point where, like, your success is now becoming my success.
Absolutely.
Now for you, Quentin, you always talk about the students becoming family, and I believe that that's kind of evident from what Mercedes was just stating. But what does that actually look like in real time? Like, what's that process like over the training process?
Yeah, over the training process, it's very, from the first conversation, you're kind of like trying to feel them out, kind of see what type of person they are. Like, what approach am I going to take to try to, get them to loosen up a little bit so they can relax. That's the first thing. I want them to relax. Like, this is not like something you should be anxious about or nervous about. We want you to relax. We are here to help you. You here with family, like, you safe. So that's number one. But then it's, building in that accountability. I normally lean into like big brother and then sometimes the uncle energy, but those are the only two energies I'm leaning into. I'm not really the disciplinarian of the group. I'm gonna be the one to be like, come on, man, you got this. I'm gonna hype them up. And then when they mess it up, I'm like, come on, bro, you can't be now. But then, the rest of the house is, Miss Carolyn is kind of like the house mom. So she going to come in a little different. She going to be, nice sometimes, but she's also going to handle them in a way where she can kind of get them together. And it's kind of, that holistic approach of figuring that out for them.
Yeah. And speaking of starting, that process, for you, Mercedes, you're there from the beginning as well, capturing pictures all the way to graduation. Is there a certain event that stands out that you look forward to most for being able to tell the story for people who aren't aware of, like, the Awaken Foundation, to kind of invite them in?
I think what I like, it's funny because we've had moments where we go into the classes and, like, they don't know I'm coming, and Q's like, hey, this is Mercedes. She's going to take some pictures, boom, boom, boom. And then, like, they all do the same thing initially. They all just look at me. And they're quiet. And it's like, okay. But then they start asking questions, where is this going to be? And then you have other students who want to do it. We had a specific time where I think there were like 3 different students. We had them tell about their experience. And it was the coolest thing because they were like, well, they went from, I don't know what to say, to, okay, that's it. That's all you need. And it was like, yeah, that's all I need right now. But if you want to offer more, like, to see the beginning of it's like a first date. The first date, you're like, okay, I don't really know this person. I'm trying to figure it out. By that 5th, 6th, 7th date, okay, where you going? Where you want to go? Where you want to get food? Like, you're more comfortable.
Yeah.
And you can see the confidence that they have not only in themselves but in the staff, and you see them become family from being strangers. So it's strangers, and then like you like merge into like friendships, and then like they become family. And you see how these students are like so excited, and their engagement and their dedication, and just the way, even the feeling their energy from the initial time when I walk in the room and sing, okay, like this feels like really stuffy. Nobody really knows anybody. To you come back, they all cracking jokes at each other. And now they going to go do whatever they're going to do, whether it's in the classroom or outside. And even when they attend our events, like that's the cool thing. A lot of them have come to our events, and to see, okay, you're not just a student in the program. You're attending an event, you're supporting as a community, you're sharing things. It's cool to see the growth, and it's cool to capture the moment of the growth. Because I don't always think that they have the time to see their growth, just because, I mean, it's real life. You know, some of them have children, some of them have families, some of them, you know, are re-entering society, some of them are coming out of high school. You're trying to figure your life out, and you're trying to take a step that's going to help you, and it's a good step, but you don't have time to like loathe in your growth. I wish they had more time to do that, but they don't, because it's like, okay, I got to do this, and then I got to do this, and I got to make sure I get a job, and then, okay, I got to handle my responsibilities. Then I got to make sure I'm doing this right. And yet they're constantly checking themselves. So they don't get to see, I wish that we could share with them more of their growth, and maybe that's something to capture more and to show them. But that's one of the favorite parts that I have, is just, man, watching their growth, seeing the students come back, even become instructors. Like, we were talking, what was it, a few months ago, and Quentin was like, oh, he's an instructor. He's a what? Wasn't he just a student?
Right,
like,
exactly. Like literally less than a year. I've been here only a year, and from a year he's become
literally. Then the other girl,
one.
oh, she's an instructor in so and so. What? Oh, okay. So you're telling me students now, once they get their credentials and they're learning, they can become instructors. That's, to me, that's generational wealth, where you put a person in a place to grow, and now they've grown so much that they can teach and help other people grow. That's real work.
Yeah, and I think that's too, going back to what we were saying about like the family aspect, and also graduation. I think graduation is so important because it's, everyone gets a different angle. So for the student, it's a very extremely exciting day to celebrate. But from the staff, like those are the moments where we recharge, because it is that moment where like it's not easy getting them from the start to the finish. So like it is frustrating is the word I'm going to use. It's frustrating to try to help someone along their life, because you cannot fight battles for them. All you're doing is like, okay, this is the way to do it, and I'm gonna lead you to it, and then now you got to make the choices. So that can be a frustrating time, like you're saying, like, you know, dealing with being there, dealing with the hurdles you deal with, and all that stuff to get to graduation, and then, you know, to see them, and then to see their families. So for us to see their families, for them to, you know, connect with them, and then to say thank you. You know, because a lot of times it's them trying to get them off the couch, or them trying to get them to do something. And, you know, we don't want to hear our own people voice, but then you put them in another space where you get a similar voice, where someone that cares for them. That's where that purpose comes in, and we all get a chance to connect. And now we have become like extended family. Now that's where you get that genuineness in the, you know, in the pictures and the smiles and sometimes tears and, you know, the hugs and all that stuff. Because it is like, you know, it's hard to get your loved one to change. And when you see someone else that is there to help them, that's super important for them. And so it's all of those different aspects. It's funders and stuff, being able to see real lives being changed. And so it's important for everybody that's there. That's why I think it's very important that we stamp that every single time, and then we keep making that larger and larger, because it's just important for what we all do and to keep that battery going.
Makes sense.
And speaking of that, keeping that battery going and dealing with some of the frustrating days, how do you two keep each other going on those tough days? And, you know, from being around you guys for the past couple of weeks as we've been filming these episodes, I've gotten to dive into a little bit of YouTube, like your dynamic as well. So how do you guys keep each other going on those tough days?
Man, I'm never serious.
Never.
It's just not going to happen, man. It's just, I can tell you at this big old ripe age of 37, 38 in a few weeks. Shut it up. what I can tell you is I'm not taking much serious, not for too long. Like, you know, you gonna get mad sometimes, you gonna get excited, anxious, all that, but let that stuff pass. Man, we finna have fun. We gonna laugh, we gonna joke, we gonna get our job done.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think I'm a mix. So there's times where I am not serious at all, and there's times where I'm probably too serious. So
the sky is falling.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, we gotta get it done. What do you mean we changed? Like today, I was like, what's going on? Like what? But I think we've developed like a synchrony to where we know it's gonna get done. And the way that Quentin and I can work is what may seem unplanned or unorganized to other people. We have a system that we work, and the way that we communicate, it works and it gets things done, but it gets things done in a way where it's not overly planned, but we predict the emotion in the events. Like we did that for She Builds. We did that for He Builds. There were certain parts of it that we had the whole event planned, but there were certain parts where we left it up to the audience. We left it up to the other people. Just that way you could have those real moments. Sometimes people try to plan too much. And I think the way that me and Quentin work, one, we don't like being micromanaged. Neither one of us. Like it'll be a no. So we'll be like, okay, hey, we need to get this done. Boom, boom, boom. We'll have a conversation. We have strategy sessions, and then we, plan it out. And if I'm slipping, he'll be like, hey, boom, 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 boom. And then if he's slipping, I'll be like, hey, boom, 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 boom. When you get a text message, you get a call. Like there was this one time where Q texted me 3 times, and in my mind I had replied, but I actually hadn't replied in like real life. So then I get a call from him, and he's like, hey, you haven't been replying. I said, what are you talking about? I replied. You texted me 3 times. I saw each text message, and I looked back and I was like, oh, I didn't reply. I replied in my mind. So it's just having those checks and balances of. And
I'm 37.
Listen, it's having those checks and balances though, because he knows my personality. I know his personality. So we know when, okay, like, hey, you're doing too much. Hey, you need to chill out. Hey, do you need me to take something off your plate? Like, hey, we got to talk about this, or hey, this is the deadline. This is priority. So we have our system set, and it just works. We get things done, and we get things done well. So I think that's probably why Jaria is like, they'll figure it out, because we'll figure it out.
And that's coming from the top too, because that's the same way we just got, me and Jaria, funny enough, just got reprimanded in the meeting, because we'll have conversations where the two of us have kind of figured out where our game plan is, and then we start working the game plan, and we ain't told everybody else. And so we be getting like, y'all can't have the word just y'all meetings, like, oh my bad. Like I'd be like, okay, what's the assignment? Now let's do the assignment. That's the way we've always worked. It's like, okay, what needs to get done? Okay, what are the couple things that you have? Like if you got some guidelines, tell me. If not, we're just gonna get to work. So that's how we all work. But it's enjoyable to me. Like I don't carry as much stress when I'm not trying to overly control everything. You learn that you can't control most of it anyway.
I'm still learning,
and a lot of it, that's what you learn with age. You're not controlling as much as you think you are. The thing you can do is prepare for it, but you ain't gonna have as much control as you think you're gonna have.
Yeah. So one of the qualities that I like about both of you guys is your adaptability. And I feel in this space, you have to be amendable to all of these various things that can come up. Like even this episode was not planned for this way.
Say it again, Jon.
But you're out here killing it. And I feel like that's how you guys handle the work that you're doing in the foundation. So like you mentioned, like you guys have learned each other. You guys have gotten like a system in place. Like you can kind of predict how the other person is going to be responding to certain things. But can each of you guys tell me something that this work has taught you about yourself?
I will say that I can work from a healthy space. I typically used to work where I'm holding all of my thoughts at once. So I typically, Jon knows this is how I explain stuff to myself, is kind of through analogies. So if I think about it like a computer, I used to keep all my tabs open at once. And I feel like that was running me crazy. I used to run myself into the ground. And so now I've kind of learned to pick things up and put them down and put markers in place. This is where I'm at. This is what I still need to do. I was laughing at Mercedes about her little planner, but those type of things help too. Now I like write myself a little note. This is what I'm doing. This is what I still have left to do. And just kind of learning to not carry not carry everything at once. Like split it up, break it up, make it into little pieces, not do it at the last moment, stuff like that. And so I feel like that's definitely one of the things that I've learned about this space, because it's a lot of work to do. And if you break it up into pieces, it's a lot easier and a lot more manageable, because you're not going to build Rome in a day. It's just not going to happen. No one wants to see your planner.
Everyone wants to see my planner. It's super cute.
Everybody look at her planner.
I'm just going to show you.
Tell her how cute it is.
Hold on a second. You're going to see it. Just wait a second. Look, it has the times. Like you can times. And then you want to see what's even cooler? You guys are going to love this. You shouldn't have mentioned my planner.
I shouldn't have.
You shouldn't. Hold on.
It was a bad idea.
Yeah, I'm going to show you. You're going to see this.
John's going to cut this out.
No, he's not. Look at that. Recap, your mantra, your priorities, your goal, your opportunities.
Why is it blank?
Because I haven't filled it out. This is for August. I filled it out for September. Mind your business.
You the one who brought the planner out.
Right. We didn't bring the planner out, did we?
Still.
We didn't say, Mercedes, please bring the planner out.
I mean, you was mentioning my planner was a good idea, so I thought I'd show everybody how cute it is.
You ain't even fully unwrapped the thing yet.
I wanted to keep the fresh new on it. And you were just... Anyways, what has all this work taught me about myself? I think that it has taught me that my skill set is more than enough. I work in a lot of spaces with a lot of people. And for a while, unofficially I've been doing this for like 13 years, but officially I've been doing it for about 6. I've been in a lot of spaces where people are older than me. I'm around a lot of men. I'm around a lot of, older women that like, they just don't get it, and they'll question you in certain ways. And one thing I can really say is like, Jeria, trust me. So if I say something like, hey, we should do this, or like, we shouldn't do this, she's like, okay, I trust you. And so being in this space is that my expertise is enough. Now, a part of that I've had to learn, because I do come from the political space and I do come from the community, is you got to learn to speak up. So I'll have an idea or I'll think something. Don't ever make assumptions. I've learned not to make assumptions. I've learned to over communicate. I will blow her phone up. I will call. Hey, I need this. Hey, I'm sending you this. I will call Q but it's better for me to over communicate, because I know that they'll always answer or they'll get back to me, than rather to make the assumptions. That's the biggest thing, is my skill set is enough. And the ideas that I have and certain things, like me and Q, we've talked about so many different ideas. Ran it past her and she's like, okay. And I'm like, okay, well, we got to switch some things up. We got to do this. Okay. So really diving into my expertise is enough. And so I didn't tell you guys this, but I'm going to tell you now. So I've also picked up live on air, right? So
breaking news.
For real, I also picked up how to do some of the stuff that the students do, like watching them and in the classes and stuff. So I rebuilt my whole shelf myself. Yeah. I hammer all, drill all. Now it's missing a couple pieces, but it's standing.
You should have just
and it works.
You should have left it. We was having.
I know, but this is the thing. I took the pieces out on purpose.
Cut this out, John.
I took the pieces out on purpose. No, don't take this part out, John. But yeah, see, so you learn in different aspects. But
right.
I would definitely say that learning that, like I said, my skill set is more than enough in this space. Try new ideas, learn new things, and speak up.
I like that. The ideas that you have purpose, and that they are enough. And all the ideas that you mentioned that you and Quentin have shared with each other about building the Awaken Foundation to what it should be, even taking it to or I should say, taking the Awaken Foundation to the next level. Now, since me and Quentin are friends in real life, and
Real life.
and have had tons of conversations, of course, as friends, you just kind of check in with each other, and work is always going to be one of the things that come up. So I know, Quentin, you're entering into year 2 here with the Awaken Foundation. And I remember when we were having a conversation, you were like, that was just the tip of the iceberg. You was talking about how your vision is for what you would like to take, or you're talking about your vision for how you would want to take Awaken Foundation to the next level. And as I'm hearing Mercedes talking about these ideas that she has, what does season 2 look like for you guys for the Awaken Foundation?
Whew, I'm excited, man. Season 1 was building that foundation, and it was tough. That building is going to take time. And so there's things that that need to get done. And there's times we can see as much as I'm climbing, there is so much more climb. You just see more climb than you've done. You look back and like, I'm barely started. But now you get a year in, you like, okay, you can look back and like, okay, we set these things in place. Like we've got through events. Like we've gone through several classes now. And so you just kind of see the work build on its own. And then for us, the staff right now is in a great place. Like just we've added some pieces that are great and everyone is fitting well. And so that was a thing that as we were building out that staff, that was important because of the way we do the work and the style in which we do the work. It's important how that staff is working with each other and working hand in hand, and everybody being able to kind of do their job and, you know, support each other in that aspect. And so now that those things are in place, you know, that I feel like we have led that foundation really well to start stacking on it. Like everyone's seeing, like, you know, what we're doing, what we're about, and that we're legit. And so now we've put ourselves in places to where we can start, you know, coming to the table and making some noise and, you know, bringing those two sides together. So now we're getting people coming in because of the traffic, and now we're getting, you know, the buy-in, and it's like, okay, well, where are the jobs? So now let's get these people together. Let's get the jobs. Let's find out what they want and then how they want these people trained so that we can get these people in valuable jobs working.
One thing that comes to mind, all gas, no brakes.
Yeah.
Second part, I work for me. I can say the second part. Second part, be prepared to be sick of us. Like, I feel like copycat season is among us. Like season 2, like, it's time to ruffle some feathers. You know, it's time to have some uncomfortable conversations. It's time to really getting students what they need. But even in the first year, the way that the foundation of the Awaken Foundation, how it's fallen into the foundation of what it is, it's better than a lot of blueprints that have been provided in the past. Like, I think the having to build something of your own, such as how Devereueawax and the Awaken Foundation has done, has turned out better than what most organizations have as their original and generational blueprint that hasn't been working, that they've just been wasting time and wasting money and should really shut their organizations down. But we're not going to name drop, you know? So copycat season is among us. And remember, I work for me, so I can't get fired.
True. I'm sure that's true to an extent.
To an extent. But no, like,
yeah,
really.
I'll say though about that tough conversation. So there are people saying that there are jobs everywhere, and so
nobody's getting hired for.
I think that is definitely that's a part of season 2 for me. Is let's get into those conversations. I want to see how many people will come to the table and tell us exactly what you're looking for.
But not even just that though. Like, you got to think of the life of the student. You got to think of the life of the recruiters. And we were talking about this yesterday. Like, there are so many different things that play a factor that people think this work is easy. And you're discussing it as if like, oh, let's just get it done. Yeah. There are intricacies and different things that have to play a role in this. Mm-hmm. And if you're not the right person for this, that can take a toll. Like, I've been a recruiter. I don't like it. It takes a special person to be a recruiter because you really have to. This is going to sound so bad, but you have to care more than most jobs. Like, really care. And Quentin cares. Like, he does, and that's good. But that also has to be reciprocated, and they has to be appreciated because he got a whole lot of other things to care about too.
Right. Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Yeah. Season 2, it's time to.
Y'all what do come to the table, companies. Yeah. Y'all come to the table. We want to find out, what do y'all want? Yeah. Where are y'all at?
What do students need though? Yeah, like when they're applying, and
what do the students need to do? What are the prerequisites? What's required? Yeah,
just the whole process, and really talking about confidence and mindset as well, because a lot of places don't really think about that. So season 2 is testing the limits in a good way, but really, like you said, having some of those uncomfortable conversations and really talking about it.
Awaken Foundation is more about training. It's about connection.
We're here to bridge the gap between potential and opportunity.
Between students and careers.
Between stories and impact.
And we can't do that alone.
If you want to be a part of that bridge, reach out. Let's build together. I'm Mercedes Joyner. This has been great. Thank you for joining another episode of us today.
It's Quentin Thomas. Thank you. We would love to connect with you. You can email me at quentinthomas@awakenfoundationl3c.com. or by cell phone 779-274-9002.
Hey guys, so you can totally connect with us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at the Awaken Foundation L3C. Everything is Awaken Foundation L3C. Feel free to check us out on our website at awakenfoundationl3c.com. We look forward to connecting with you.
Thanks for spending time with us here on Awaken, Building Bridges, Bridging the Gap. We hope today's conversations inspired you and gave you a new perspective on trades and the people behind them.
And before we wrap up, we want to thank our sponsors for truly making this possible. We'd like to thank CEJA, leading the way in clean energy opportunities, Climate Works, powering careers in sustainability, and the Illinois Tollway for investing in infrastructure and workforce pathways. Their support allows us to keep these conversations going and speak to viewers like you.
Until next time, keep building purpose through the trades.
And keep building bridges in your own community.